All right, fifth graders, how you doing? It's Thursday, April 2nd. We're continuing with geometry and cubes. Today, it's just going to be 5 word problems. Okay, so read them carefully. I'm going to go through how you would decipher most of the word problems. So in the Google Docs today, there's not going to be any visuals. There's no pictures. So you have to maybe take a blank piece of paper and draw it out yourself if that helps. But it's going to say something like this. It's going to say, let's say I have a prism where the height is 6, the length is 4, and the width are 2. And it could be any numbers. It doesn't matter. And then I'm going to say to you, what if I want to make another prism that's half the size or half as big as this? What would I do? So first of all, I have to figure out what the volume is. The volume of this cube is, right, 6 times 4 times 2, which is going to give us 48, right? 6 times 4 is 24. 24 times 2 is 48. If I want to make a cube half the size of this, or half as big, that means I know my new volume, or my new volume is going to be half the size of that, so it's going to be 24, right? So that means I need to figure out what the dimensions are. So this is going to be the new cube, right? There's going to be a height and a length and a width. So here's the easy way to do it, okay? Here's the height. The height is 6. Half of 6, right, is 3. Here's the length. The length is 4. Half of 4 is 2. And here's the width. The width is 2. Half of 2 is 1. Now, we're going to see, does that work out, right? Half of this is 3. Half of this is 4. Half of this is 2. Half of 2 is 1. So now I do 3 times 2 times 1, and I get 6. Not good, right? All right, so I know that would be, the reason why I showed you that is because I think that would be what you would consider the easy thing to do. All right, but we can't do that, right? We have to make sure that first you figure out the original cube's volume, which is 48, and then you want one that's half as big. Half as big means the volume has to be half as big, 24. Now you can basically make up anything you want, right, for the next cube. So there's many ways you can do this. We can do, I don't know, we know that 8 times 3 is 24, right? The Math 24 students will have fun figuring this out because there's so many ways to do it, right? So let's say 8 times 3. So let's say I'm going to do 8, 3, and 1, right? 8 times 3 is 24. 24 times 1 is 24. That's one way I can do it. Another way I could do it is 6, 4, and 1, right? That equals 24. Another way I could do it would be, let's say, 4 times 2 times 3, right? Because 4 times 2 is 8, and 8 times 3 is 24. So basically you get the gist, right? So don't just cut these in half, right? You have to figure out what the total volume is, just like we've been doing in previous exercises, right? You take 6 times 4 times 2, and that's 48. And now we're going to cut that in half, and we need to figure out a cube that's 24 total volume. And then you can make up whatever dimensions you want, okay? If I was going to, let's say, do something that's a fourth as big, right? Then you would figure out 48 divided by 4, right, is 12, okay? So that means my new volume would have to be 12. If I wanted to do, this is if I wanted to do, cut it in a, I'm sorry, not in half. If I wanted to cut it in a fourth, right? Then I would have to make up a height, length, and weight, width. That equals 12. So I could do 2 times 2 times 3, right? 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 3 is 12. There's a lot of ways you could do it. Let's say I wanted to come up with a volume that's twice the size of this. right? So 48 plus 48 would be 96, right? So this is, now I'm going to figure out one that's 2 times the size, right? So my height, length, and width would now have to add up to 96, okay? So we could say, you could say 6 times 4 is 24, and instead of multiplying it by 2, you could multiply it by 4, right? 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 6 is 96. All right, so again, when you get to the height, length, and weight part, you can figure out any 3 numbers that add up to what you want your total volume to be. But the key is, first you got to figure out what the original box's volume is, and then you got to figure out what the new volume is based on whether or not you're cutting it in half, cutting it into thirds, cutting it into fourths, making it twice as big, making it 3 times as big, and so forth. All right, there's one more type of question on here that I wanted to go over real quick. It's going to be question number 4 on the assignment, and it's talking about, there's a planter's box, right? And the planter's box, right, is let's see, it's 4 by 3 by 5. So the height is 5, and the length is 4, and the width is 3. Okay, so I'm saying that this is the size of the planter's box. Now, when I want to get my volume, right, all I got to do is multiply those two. So 5 times 4 is 20. 20 times 3 is 60. All right. The question is going to be, if 1 scoop of soil, right, covers 1 little cube, right? If each of these cubes equals 1, right? If each of these scoops of soil equals 1 cube, how many scoops am I going to need to fill up the whole entire planter's box? So we know that the total volume is 60. So that means if each of these cubes is worth 1, it's going to take 60 cubes or 60 scoops of soil to fill the whole box. Okay? All right, any questions as always, just let me know on Google Classroom, and I will see you guys tomorrow.